Hello everyone, it's Kari again from sunshineinmypocket.com. Today I am super excited because I'm going to share with you most of the subscriptions available through Altenew right now for this month. This first one is the Paint a Flower Wood Anemone. And this is gorgeous flower. It comes with a lot of sentiments too. I'm going to show you some finished cards with all of these, so stay tuned because that'll really help you to see if you would enjoy these subscriptions or not. This next one is a beautiful subscription. It's the new Build a Garden subscription, and it's the Daffodil Delight. It comes with this large stamp set with lots of sentiments and also this layering stencil for coloring. So if you're not loving to color with markers, then you might love to color with ink. It also comes with this brush, which, by the way, this is the first time I've tried one of these brushes, and it's now one of my favorites. I've got to get me some more of these for sure. So that's the whole new Build a Garden subscription. It changed from another subscription that they had before. So there's the first two. This one might be one of my favorites. It's the Craft a Flower subscription, and this month it's the Open Peony. So beautiful. I love these. I always get so much use out of these. I love putting them together. They make them so easy to line up as well. And I'm going to show you what they've done new on this one. It's really kind of fun. Then this last one is the Craft Your Life kit. And this is amazing because it comes with a really large stamp set. This one is the Magnolia and Blooms stamp, and it also has this die with it. Coloring stencils as well, which there are quite a few in here, and you're going to see how to build these up and how to color that in. I was really impressed, I have to say. And then also this embossing folder, so you get all of these in that one subscription. So much fun. The only one I don't have to share with you today is their Mini Delight, and so you'll have to take a look at the other blogs on the Hop. If you want to join the Hop, then you can go enter to win. There is a time deadline on commenting to enter to win, but there are like 10 prizes. I think the deadline is August 18th. So if you are seeing this video before August 18th, definitely go check out that link I have and enter if you're interested. So I'm showing you this first subscription kit. This is the Build a Garden. The Daffodil Delights is for this month. Look at this big, beautiful, gorgeous display of daffodils. It is so beautiful. I'm stamping it out in my favorite black ink, and now I'm going to show you how to color them with these stencils. You can see there are multiple stencils. They're numbered here so that you know which one's which. And there are 5 stencils so that you can easily color in both of the large stamps that come in here. So this is just one of the flower sprays of the daffodils. And there is a layering guide to show you exactly how to do this. I found that it was really easy to line these up though. I didn't really need to refer to that layering guide too much, but if you want to, it is there, and so there's no worries. I'm going to use this brand new ink blending tool that came in the kit this time, and I'm going to use a bunch of Altenew inks in yellow shades, and we'll just ink this up. So for this first layer, I found the stencil that corresponded with this particular stamp, and I just placed that first stencil right over the top. I'm inking it up in a really light color yellow, but the center parts of the flower, I'm adding some caramel toffee. That's going to give it a little bit darker of a shade in the center there. I used quite a few different shades of yellow just to get a variety. I think that is more fun and adds a lot of depth and dimension. When you're coloring with inks, it's really fun to add different colors and different shades. So there's that one. I'm going to tape down the panel here so that when I lift up these stencils, it's really easy to see what's happening. So that top stencil is on just like a hinge, so I can lift it up and see how things are going. And there we go. That's the progress right now. And then I can add more color where I think that it is necessary. So now I'm going to add the layer that is the leaves. No, first I'm going to finish coloring up the flowers. So we've got the rest of the petals here. I'm just going to tape that on one side so that it's easy to keep there. And then I'll color these up with those yellow inks as well. This one is called Fresh Lemon, I believe. Such a pretty color. They have some great shades of yellow. My favorite, I think, is Pocketful of Sunshine. They have a set of 4. So I'm using a lot of those inks from that set. Here's the next stencil, and it fits right over the top. You can see they're really easy to line up, but not all of the stencil is for the whole. You'll see there's different parts to the stencil. So I kind of taped over those so I wouldn't accidentally ink over them. But look how fast this is. This is so much faster than coloring with my Copics or colored pencils or even watercoloring. It's pretty fast. So I love this Build a Garden set. There we go. There's the daffodils all inked up in different shades of yellow. Now I'm going to go and move on to the leaves. So there's a different stencil that has just the leaves on it. And I'll line that up here. And I'm going to use some shades of green. This one's Minty Mint. And I'll just add that lightly to those leaves. There is another section for the leaves as well that I'll ink on with a darker green. So now I'm going to move that over. I'm going to add a little bit of darker green just to the bottom portion of these leaves here. That'll make sure that we get some variation. See that? And now I'll add the next layer for those leaves. And we're almost done. So it's just this little portion on this stencil right here. I'm doing this rather quickly because I have all these subscriptions to show you a card. So I didn't want to spend too much time on each of these, and that's why I'm not showing you each individual stencil and how to line them up, but they're pretty easy to figure out. And look at that beautiful coloring. Now all I'm going to do is stamp on a sentiment that says you have a beautiful heart, and then I'm going to add a little bit of glitter on the inside of each of the daffodils. There's a little part here that where the stamens would be, and I thought it would be so pretty to add a little bit of goldish yellow glitter. So I'm going to set that on with some glue, and then I'll put this aside to dry before I finish out this card. So while that's drying, let's go to this next one. Look at this embossing folder. I ran the embossing folder through on a slimline card, but I'm actually going to change up my card to be an A2 size card. But this is how I ran that one through at first. And so I'll show you how it turns out. But these inserts are just gorgeous. It shows you all kinds of ideas, different layouts, different things that you can do with them. So beautiful. And it also shows you how to line up the stencil. I'm just making sure my ink is dry before I ink on those inks. And then I'll take out my layering stencil for this one. So this one I thought was absolutely genius, how they designed this stencil. So you can see they're numbered again, same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there are different parts to each stencil. Super easy to figure out, easy to follow along. And you will see that there's a line down the center here so that each part of this stencil is a different layer. I thought I'd ink this on with some of my favorite greenish blue inks. This is Lagoon here. I'm going to use some Mountain Mist also and Volcano Lake. And I'm just inking on a light portion on the 3 open blooms here on this side of the stencil. Now here's where it becomes genius, because move it over to the other side and this becomes your next layer of ink. So it gives you quite a dramatic look. I absolutely adored it when I started inking this on. So watch this when I remove that stencil. Look at that. So pretty. So I really like how they designed the stencil with the different layers. Now I'll go ahead and do these flowers in a purple shade, and I am going to use this one. So this layer just kind of colors up every other petal on these flowers. See that? And then the next layer it does a darker or I'm going to do a darker color on the next layer. So you can see there's a line here and it's pretty easy to line up. I didn't even look at the layering guide for this one. I just was able to figure it out as I started going through. So for this one, here's a little bit darker shade of purple. So you're going to get a little bit of contrast between each of the petals. It's really, really pretty. Look at that. So this is a really fun set. This is the Craft Your Life kit. So now with this one, I'm going to be lining up the centers of each of those flowers. And I want to make sure that I don't go over that line there. This is just going to be the center. So I'm putting a piece of tape there just to remind me, stop right here. And I do that every once in a while because these stencils, I mean, they're easy to line up, but I definitely don't want to go over where I'm not supposed to. So this is going to be a yellow layer for those. On the blue flower, of course, it was harder to get that yellow. So that would be really pretty embossed as well. Now for the leaf layer, you can ink up all the leaves at once here. I'm using bamboo ink for this one. Look at that, so pretty. And then for the next one, it does ink up the rest of the leaves. Oh, here is one of the stems. So I'll do that with the same color bamboo as well, real quick, just like that. And then the next layer will be the rest of the leaves, I believe. I'm using olive ink on this one, and that will finish off the leaves for this. So easy to color and also gives you a little drama on those blooms. Love it. I'm going to use the die that comes in the kit to cut this out, and then I'll figure out how to position that on my card panel. This is so awesome that it comes with all of these products. So the Craft Your Life kit is definitely a much larger subscription kit than the rest of them. So they each have a little bit more than the last. And I love this die because it cuts out the centers of those spots there. So that's what I'm showing you. So here's where I'm trying to figure out how I want my card to go. And I decided I really wanted it to be this A2 size card with a "You Are Amazing" sentiment. And I stamped that with the same blue ink that I did the flowers. So this is all going to match. I'm going to pop this up with foam tape. And you have that embossing folder to give you some more depth. You can use it right over the spray that you color as well. There's so many things you can do with this. Lots of different ways to use that. And I'll just cut off the excess there, add that sentiment, and that's all we need for this card. So many wonderful things in this kit. And take a look at that finished card. Lots of dimension and depth with the embossing folder, the inking, and everything. Beautiful. I'm going to finish off this daffodil card using these watercolor washes paper, and then I'm just going to cut it down to an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'll glue that daffodil panel on that I cut down so that I could have a mat around the edges of that. And now I'll add just a few gemstones to this card, just here and there, just to give it a little more sparkle. You know I love to add my sparkle. So there's that card, and that's going to finish off our daffodil card. Now I'm going to show you the Paint a Flower Wood Anemone, which this was one of my favorites from this release as well. I'm going to use some Bristol paper and stamp that beautiful flower onto the Bristol because I want to use my Zig watercolor markers. It works so much better on Bristol paper than any other paper that I've tried. And I'm not going to show you all the coloring for this card because it did take me quite a while to color this up and get it looking the way I wanted it to. But what I did was I started with a watercolor wash with those Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and then I also added some Prismacolor pencils over the top. Now you'll see that there's a little white spot at the bottom of this flower right now because I heat embossed that. I accidentally reached for my white heat embossing instead of clear. So I will fix that at the end, but that's why that looks white right now. And you know, sometimes that's the way it goes. So to start, I'm just going to add some darker green to the bottom portion of the leaves and some lighter green to the top portion. And then I'm going to use a water brush to kind of merge those together. And I'll also finish all of the leaves that way, and I'll add, once they're completely dry, I'll add a little more depth to them later. I'm going to do the petals of the flowers the same way, just using a darker pink on the one edge and a lighter peachy pink, kind of orange, on the other end of the petal. And then I'll use my water brush to kind of merge those together as well. And I do have a paper towel off to the side there that I use to get some of that ink off so I can get the color that I'm looking for. So that is a very quick rendition of how I did this. And then I'm going to go through and add some more darkness and a little bit more here and there just till I get it the way I like it. When that is completely dry, I went ahead and ironed off the embossing powder. So now I have a completely flat image. So to iron it off, I take a piece of computer paper, just plain computer paper, put it over the top and run a hot iron over that so that the paper absorbs all that embossing powder and kind of gets rid of it. That way I can restamp over this image with the flower itself. I left everything in the MISTI so I could do that later to make it darker, and it worked perfectly. Now I'm just going to add some petals, lines to the petals with my Prismacolor pencils, and I'm doing this very quickly, trying not to overthink it, because I think this flower is just gorgeous. It doesn't really need a lot, but I wanted to give it a little bit of personality with some of these lines. So I did work this over and over, making sure that my colored pencils were sharp before I did all of this. Then I added some depth to the center of the flower and to the bottom portion of each of the petals and also the leaves. So, and then a little bit of yellow on the tops. So you can see I just kind of worked it until I got it the way that I liked it. This was quite a bit of work and coloring, but it was really enjoyable because this flower is so pretty. Once that was done, I went ahead and inked a little bit of that Lagoon ink onto my card panel base. And then I'm going to go ahead and use this beautiful Dotted Lines Debossing cover die. This does not cut the panel, it just kind of debosses those dots into the background. It's really, really pretty, and it adds a little bit of interest in that background. Now I'm going to use this set here called the Branches and Berries die set, and I'm cutting them out of different glitter papers from Altenew. These greens are so pretty. I also used, I think, some silver colors, and I just placed them behind that flower to give it a little more interest and depth. And I'll just stamp Sending Good Vibes. That was also in that set, right over the top, and that will be our card. I did add the flower with some foam tape so that it was a little more dimensional. And then a little bit of these drops in the center. These are yellow and look so pretty as the little tips of each of those. I don't know what those are called. Are they the stamens also? I'm not sure, but I really liked the look when it was done. I'm not pressing very hard on these. I just wanted the tiniest little dots, just like it was drawn there. So that's what I did there. So look how pretty this ended up turning out. I think all the work was worth it. A few dots in the center. You can't really see that on the video, but in real life it adds a little bit of interest as well. So the center just has some black dots. I really love how this card turned out. If you love coloring, this Paint a Flower stamp set subscription might be one for you. I hope you like how it turned out as well. So this is the Craft a Flower set, and of course I love it. I always put it on a magnet sheet, a really nice sturdy magnet sheet. That way I can line them all up and I can tell what goes with what and how to layer them. For this particular one, I decided to color them up with inks. And so I'm choosing some purple inks to use here to color them up. Now for this process, I wanted to use a glove because this can get a little bit messy. But if you don't have colored cardstock that you want to use, then this could be a really fun technique for you. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it. I did this in purples and some pinks as well to make a couple different peonies, and I just use my glove and press that onto the ink pad. Now you need a really nice juicy ink pad for this. You can also ink these up with using a blending brush, or you can use re-inkers to paint them on, whatever you want to do. I just wanted to use my ink pads for this one. I also did it for the leaves and the centers, and I used some lighter colors, kind of graduating up lighter. And then on this one, it was really interesting because they have a little arrow. Now I'm going to hold this up in a minute, so hopefully you'll be able to see how these line up. There's a little arrow on the layers so that you know exactly which direction they go. So I'm just kind of dry placing these right now. I'm not gluing them down yet. I just wanted to see how that would work, but it is awesome. So let me show you. See those little spots in the center? They're arrows. So they show you how to line these up. Now I didn't like the white lines, so I took a Copic marker and I just went over those lines to cover them up. So look here, I'm lining the arrows up right there. So you don't even have to think about this. It is so cool. See that arrow? And then I line this one up over the top. Once you get to the very top though, of course that arrow disappears and you have to just place these other layers up to kind of match. But you definitely don't want that arrow showing in your final result. So this will cover that right there. And then there's a piece that fits over the top just like this. And that's how you're going to build your peonies. This piece here, I had to check the layering guide. It goes just like that. And it's a really, really fun kit. I always love getting these die subscriptions in the mail every month. It's really, really fun. Here you can see I also created a pink one. So let's go ahead and start putting this together. I'm using the Castle Motif embossing, stencil, and I'm going to dry emboss it in my Big Shot machine. I'm running that through and you can see there is embossed a little bit. And then I'll ink over it just lightly using a light color of ink. That's going to create our background with a little bit of interest. I am going to make the centers a little bit darker using one of these detailed blending brushes. It's really great to have these smaller detail brushes to do this kind of small work. And you can see that's adding some dimension and interest for the background. It's really, really simple to do. For this card, I'm going to use both of those peony blooms on this panel here. And so I'm going to just kind of arrange it at first, trying to see the way that I like that. I think I probably cut way too many leaves to make one card. But I can always build another peony and make another card as well. I'm going to use this hello from a previous Craft a Flower set, and I'm trying to decide which color I wanted to use. I ended up going with a pink one that is the same color as that first peony there in the front, and I just die cut that hello out of an inked panel. And that's going to finish off this card. I put it on a top folding card base, and there you go. So that's all the subscriptions, the Craft a Flower, the Paint a Flower right here. This is the Build a Garden set, and then the Craft Your Life set with all of those amazing products. I hope you enjoyed a look at these subscriptions today. I know this was a super quick video, but I wanted to be sure to show you all of these with examples of cards. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up. It really helps out with YouTube. It's free to do, and I really appreciate all your comments and likes. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. We'll see you soon with more card making inspiration. Bye-bye.